just want to praise you forever and ever. I'm going to put your hands together. And ever, for all you've done for me. Blessings and glory and honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus, for blessing me. Come on, everybody, help me sing. Just want to thank you. Just want to thank you forever, forever, and
Thank you so very much, Reverend Mackey. My brothers and sisters, today we want to take a moment to do something which I think very much needs to be done. You know, the A.M.E. Church in Georgia is really not aware of all that it has. And so it's important that we take the time to recognize who we have as a part of our faith communion and the contribution that they make on behalf of the state of Georgia. When I came to Georgia in 2016, one of the things I was concerned about was that the A.M.E. Church did not have that strong a presence, and I was concerned because in terms of the faith community across the state, it did not have that strong a presence, and there were a lot of issues that I thought the faith community ought to speak to. And I was pleasantly surprised when I found out who some of the key players in the state were. And this afternoon, I want to take a moment to express our appreciation and the honor, and to let us know who we have in this state. And so we're going to refer to these as the Henry McNeil Turner Social Justice Awards. At the Georgia State House, one of the African Americans prominently featured there is Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, who at one time served in the Georgia State Legislature. And what I love about Bishop Turner is that he was absolutely profound in doing what John Lewis called creating good trouble. And so this afternoon we have 4 people that we want to pay special tribute to. This past legislative session, one of the things that we pressed hard on was hate crimes legislation. At that time, Georgia was one of only 4 states in the nation that did not have a hate crimes law, and at a time when hate crimes were increasing across the nation and, in fact, here in Georgia. And we were blessed and fortunate to get the legislature to pass hate crimes legislation. And I want you to know the hate crimes bill would not have passed if it had not been for the 4 people that we honor here today. And let me say that again, the hate crimes bill would not have passed if it was not for the 4 people we honor here today. And let me say that I am especially proud because every single one of them is a member of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And so I want to present these awards to them to express our appreciation and give them a chance to address the body. I'm happy to have those of you who are in this room, and then we have several thousand who are viewing us on Facebook Live and on the 6th District website. So let me begin by first saying I want to present an award to the Honorable Representative Karen Bennett, who also happens to be an A.M.E. pastor. And she happens to be on the West District. Reverend Keenan Hale is her presiding elder. And Representative Bennett, Reverend Bennett, also serves as the president of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. And the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus is the largest state legislative black caucus in the entire United States. She pastors Tranquil A.M.E. Church in Douglasville, Georgia. And the first year that we were trying to get the hate crimes bill passed, Representative Bennett played a major role. In fact, we had A.M.E. Day at the State House, and she helped to organize that day for us. She's given good leadership, and I want to thank her on behalf of the 6th District for all that she has done. This reads the Bishop Henry McNeil Turner Social Justice Award, presented to Georgia State Representative Karen Bennett from the 6th Episcopal District, African Methodist Episcopal Church. Dr. Foster in here. And it says on here, let justice roll down like water. That's what Dr. Foster preached about today. Representative Bennett, on behalf of the 6th District, we want to present you with the Henry McNeil Turner Social Justice Award. All right, let's give her a hand. All right. Representative Bennett, go ahead and address the body.
Thank you, Bishop. Well, I have it on, but...
Is it on?
Oh, okay. Thank you so very much, Bishop, to my Bishop, Reginald T. Jackson, who had it not been for him, we may not have ever taken up policy for hate crime in Georgia. So let's give Bishop Jackson another round of applause. For it is he who brought this idea to the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, who at the time, Senator Lester Jackson was our honorable chairman, Senator Jackson. And so what they did was stood behind myself and Senator Jackson and supported us as we carried legislation to the Georgia General Assembly, both state House and House of Representatives. And I want you to know that sometimes bills are not just always passed the first go-round. And so the session ended, the term ended, and hate crime had not passed. And lo and behold, Bishop Jackson didn't give up. He kept pushing, he kept pressing, and we continued to carry the mantle because it was essentially important that Georgia had a hate crimes legislation bill in statute. And it was even more important that the A.M.Es led the charge. So I want to thank you for showing up both down at the Capitol through emails, through texts, through your phone calls. And had it not been for the Lord and you on our side, where would we be? So I cannot thank you enough, Bishop, for your wise counsel, your support, and for always being there and taking the call. And so I just want to say, as we are in this all-important voter and election cycle, and I wouldn't be the legislator and pastor that I am if I couldn't say it, I hope if you have not voted already that you plan your vote, you vote early, and that you get all of your congregations to do so. But the hate crime bill, House Bill 426, is just the beginning of work that we have to do. And so keep on pushing, keep on doing what you do, keep on praying, because as you see with these gentlemen on my side, I need all the prayers I can get. I say that jokingly, because they are some of the most supportive advocates that I have in working down at the Capitol. So thank you so much, Bishop. And if you want a sermon, you want me to? Anyway, God bless you. Thank you for your support. And I must say that Bishop Jackson doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. And when I was up for re-election, he made sure that I knew that I had his support. So thank you again, Bishop Jackson.
You're welcome. All right. And then the next awardee, Representative Billy Mitchell, has been very instrumental in what we've tried to do at the Georgia State House. And again, another good A.M.E. He is a member of St. Philip Church in Decatur. Dr. William Watley is his pastor. And whenever we try to do anything at the State House, I could depend on Representative Billy Mitchell to give us whatever assistance it is that we needed. He called the people he had to call and made the moves he had to move. He's been very, I'll say, representative in demonstrating his faith commitment. He's been faithful, whether he's at St. Philip or whether he's at the Georgia State House. And I'm hoping, it's my hope that when this election is over, the majority status in the Georgia House will be changed, and it's my hope that Billy Mitchell will be the next Speaker of the Georgia Legislative House of Representatives. Now, I'm sure I'm going to have some folk coming after me for saying that, but that's my hope. So it's my joy to present the Bishop Henry McNeil Turner Social Justice Award to Representative Billy Mitchell. Give him a hand.
Thank you so much. Oh, please, you honor me. please. I want to thank the bishop. And I will tell you, we as public servants, it's good to have public servants in the church doing great work, because I do believe that God will come to even us who serve in government. He'll say to some of us, you know, when I was hungry, Bishop, you cut food stamps and aid to dependent children. When I was thirsty, you poisoned the water in Flint, Michigan. Oh, when I was sick, you tried to end affordable health care. Oh, well, I was in jail because of your prison industrial complex. Oh, when I was a stranger, you tried to build a wall at the border, take children from their parents, some never to be reunited again. Some will say, Lord, when did we do this to you? But you all are Bible readers, so you know he'll reply, in as much as you've done it to the least of these, you also have done it to me. And I will tell you, you know, that's one of the great reasons I just love the A.M.E. Church, Bishop. You know, when Bishop Allen and others were being denied the opportunity to worship in dignity, they just didn't sit idle. They started their own church and then worked to end such injustices, and that was Bethel A.M.E. Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Oh, perhaps the single most important court decision as it pertains to black folks in this country is the landmark Brown versus Board of Education case, which essentially dismantled the legal doctrine of segregation. Well, the lead principal, Brown, was the Reverend Oliver Brown, pastor of the St. James A.M.E. Church of Topeka, Kansas. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is rightfully credited with leading the nonviolent movement, but it was a petite and obviously exhausted young lady who initiated that movement when she took a stand by refusing to give up her seat, and her name was Rosa Parks, member of the St. Paul A.M.E. Church of Montgomery, Alabama. Oh, the first doctor to complete a successful open heart surgery was a black man. Now, in case you missed that, let me say that again. The first doctor anywhere to complete a successful open heart surgery was a black man operating on a white man, no less. And his name was Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, member of the St. Stephen's A.M.E. Church in Chicago, Illinois. Oh, we built this country, Washington, D.C., the White House, with slave labor. Yes, we literally built it. And the principal architect was a Benjamin Banneker, member of the Mount Moriah A.M.E. Church of Annapolis, Maryland. Oh, Harriet Tubman, with a gun in one hand and a Bible in the other, said to many a slave, you're going to be free by God's hand, or you're going to die by mine. And she was a member of the Thompson Memorial A.M.E. Church of Auburn, New York. Oh, the biggest trial and therefore a plan to free slaves in the history of this country was led by Denmark Vesey, member of the Mother Emanuel Church of Charleston, South Carolina. Oh, Henry McNeil Turner, among the first black African-American legislators, was expelled by his color. We have statues at him at the Capitol, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so grateful to be able to accept this award. Now, before I sit down, take my award, and go home, let me just say this, that your bishop is being far too modest. Before going to law school, I went to a school in New Jersey called Rutgers University. Called all my friends when the bishop was coming, and the state senator there that I used to work for told me that Bishop Jackson was the principal primary advocate for doing away with the death penalty in Georgia, in New Jersey. So I knew what to expect. And I will tell you, there were times, as Chairman Bennett said, there were times when I didn't think that this hate crimes legislation was ever going to be. But it was primarily because of his advocacy, and we have something that we got for you coming up as well. I want to thank you for this honor. I will cherish it always, coming from the A.M.E. Church. Thank you so very much, Bishop. Where's the check? Where's the check?
Give me that note card. Let me have that card right there. That's the check. All right. Now, the recipient of the third award is not able to be here today, but he is one of the most outstanding public servants anywhere in the United States of America. Representative Calvin Smari is a member of Greater Ward Chapel in Columbus, Georgia. And he is the longest serving. He is the dean of the Georgia State Legislature. There's nobody else in the Georgia State Legislature who has served longer than Representative Calvin Smari. And he has immeasurable influence at the Georgia State House. And he continues to amaze me. Last Sunday, I had to preach at the Council of Bishops prayer and worship service. And when I got through preaching, I had a text message. Text message was from Representative Smari. He gave me my scripture. He gave me my subject. And what really got me was he listed all three of my points. And I said, well, I didn't know he knew about the service, but the fact that he took the time to get on Facebook for that service. And this hate crimes legislation, again, would not have passed if he had not lent his influence. And really, I'm indebted to Representative Smari because he helped keep me out of very serious trouble. One meeting I had, two meetings I had with the governor, Representative Bennett was in the meeting with us. One meeting, Representative Bennett was not there, but Representative Smari was there. And the governor made a statement and said, this is a new Georgia. We're not going to tolerate hate in Georgia. So, Bishop, I don't think we need the hate crimes law because we don't tolerate hate. And I said, you know, Governor, that sounds good. I said, but if they blew up an Episcopal church in Athens, then you'd support a hate crimes law. The reason I said that was the governor belongs to an Episcopal church in Athens. And so the governor's face started getting red. And I was saying to myself, I dare you. And so I think Representative Smari saw where the meeting was about to go. He said, okay, Governor, we want to thank you for this time together. Because I was ready, if he wanted to go down, I was ready to go down. And then it occurred to me, I'd have been in jail and he's still been in the governor's mansion. So I want to thank Representative Smari, but I'm going to ask to accept the award on his behalf and to give remarks is his pastor, the Reverend Terrence Evans. Somebody have a microphone for Reverend Evans? All right, here it comes. All right, Reverend Terrence Evans, today you're Calvin Smari.
Thank you, Bishop. I want to extend apologies on behalf of Representative Smari. He did wish he could be here today, but he wants to say thank you to Bishop Jackson and to his colleagues for supporting him. I'll say this. It's one of the things that he always says when we have gatherings together is he wants people to know that he did not get where he is. He's not able to do the things that he's done and continues to do by himself. He tells a story about if you're driving down the street and you see a turtle sitting on top of a fence post, know that that turtle did not get there on its own. Somebody had to help it get there. And every single day he continues to work. Now, I was looking at some things, and I've joked with him before. I say, Representative Smyrie, you've been in the Georgia legislature as long as I've been alive. And he laughs. But that is a testament to how it is that he builds coalitions, how it is that he respects people, how it is that he knows that he cannot get things done without the help of other people. And the A.M.E. Church has helped him to be who he is. And so he continues to serve God and you. So I'll take this, and on his behalf, he says thank you, and I'll make sure that it gets in his hands.
Thank you so much. And his presiding elders, Elder Jacqueline Smith, and Representative Billy Mitchell's presiding elder is Reverend Thomas Bess. And please keep Reverend Bess in your prayers. He was not feeling well this week, which is why he is not here. So please keep Elder Bess in your prayers. And the final award goes to somebody who, during this whole struggle for the hate crimes law, was like a right arm. When I came to Georgia, I was invited to speak at the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus prayer breakfast held in Savannah, Georgia. And at that prayer breakfast, the Senator Lester Jackson was the president of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. And at that breakfast, I said to the Black Caucus that if they would sponsor hate crimes legislation, that I would get faith leaders across the state of Georgia to support them. And under the leadership of the president of the Black Caucus, they submitted legislation in the General Assembly. First year, it didn't pass. And they came up with crazy foolishness as to why they wouldn't support it. It got to the Senate, and they said, well, we'll support it, but you have to agree to make abortion a hate crime. And we decided we weren't going to go to that route. I spoke with Senator Jackson, Representative Mitchell, Representative Bennett. We said, we ain't going with that. Then it came around the second year. And again, we tried to get it passed, and it passed the House and got to the Senate, and the chair of the Senate committee wouldn't even bring it up for a hearing. And I believe he represents this area, Augusta. His name is Stone, I believe. Is that right? Jesse Stone. In this area. And I spoke with Senator Jackson. We said we're not going to let this go. Representative Bennett and some of us had another meeting. We had 2 meetings with the Lieutenant Governor. We said we're not. I think they thought if they kept saying no, we would say, all right, forget it. But Senator Lester Jackson was just absolutely determined that we were going to get this hate crimes bill passed. And I talked more with Senator Jackson, who is a dentist, than I've talked with my own dentist in about 20 years. You see, and I said, well, if they don't straighten up, I'm going to have Dr. Jackson go pull some teeth and not use any Novocaine. Let them feel the pain of the situation. But he has been a champion on this effort. Senator Jackson is a good member of Bethel Church in Savannah, where Reverend Greg Lordnum is his pastor, and Presiding Elder Catherine Mathis is his presiding elder. But he has been a champion on this effort, and again I say, the hate crimes bill would not have passed without the support and the perseverance of Senator Lester Jackson. On behalf of the 6th District, present to Senator Lester Jackson the Henry McNeil Turner Social Justice Award. Senator Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down. God is good. And all the time. For a forest fire of justice to flourish, it must first begin with a spark. And I'm going to tell you, that spark for justice when it comes to hate crime started in the A.M.E. church. It started in the A.M.E. church. Hate crime would not exist today if it wasn't for A.M.E. And I'm going to tell you what happened 4 years ago when I was chairman of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. I had the idea to bring down the bishop of the A.M.E. church to speak to the Black Caucus. Had I known what was going to inspire, then I would have brought him down a year earlier. But he challenged the Black Caucus. He challenged every member of the Georgia General Assembly to do something for hate crime. As you know, that we passed hate crime in 20 years ago, in 2000, but the court struck it down. So after Bishop Jackson spoke, he came to me and said, Senator, I need you to sponsor hate crime. And I said this, I said, Bishop, these white folks don't want it. But he said, if you introduce it and push it, I will stand with you. And not only did he stand with me, he brought in other A.M.E. ministers, you across the board. He brought in the presiding elders. But also, later that year, he brought in ministers around the state of all denominations to talk about hate crime. The spark for hate crime legislation came from Bishop Reginald Jackson. The spark to change Georgia came from Bishop Reginald Jackson. And when the pushback came against me and members of my caucus, Bishop Jackson stood up and brought people together. I remember a meeting in the Lieutenant Governor's office. Bishop Jackson brought the bishop of the CME Church, a religious leader from the Jewish community, the United Methodist Church, all sat around the room, and a representative from the Baptist Convention, all sat around the room and talked to the Lieutenant Governor. And I just sat there and I saw where the Lieutenant Governor lied in the bishop's face. Lied in the bishop's face and said he was going to show him some legislation. And it didn't happen. But we kept on pushing. But he didn't. But the thing about what makes Bishop Jackson strong is the A.M.E. church. Because when he walked to the Capitol, he didn't go by himself. He went 100 strong, sometimes 200 strong, pushing for hate crime legislation. And because we have hate crime today, it's not nothing the Republicans wanted to do. It's not nothing that was on anybody else's mind, except the mind of a man who came from New Jersey, a man who talked about social injustice, a man who think about changing America one state at a time. Because my grandfather told me, if you're going to drink from the fountain, remember those that dug the well. And Bishop Jackson dug the well for social justice. Bishop Jackson dug the well for change in Georgia. Bishop Jackson is my kind of hero. So I want to thank you for the award, Bishop. I want to thank you for the award, my presiding elder and my pastor. Thank you for supporting me and standing beside me. But thank you, A.M.E. Church, for making a difference for social change in Georgia. And let's not stop here, because we have other hills we got to climb. And we can't do it by ourselves. We need to be a team. A wolf hunting by himself isn't strong. But the strength of the wolf is the pack. And the strength of the pack is the individual wolf. I'm just so glad that we got an alpha male by the name of Bishop Jackson. But I'm also glad that we got a strong pack that's going to stick together. Remember, the strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the bishop is the A.M.E. Church. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so very much. And again, we have some other stuff, some other things, some other issues we need to deal with in Georgia that we're going to deal with. And I look forward to working with the Black Caucus, and I'm sure that the A.M.E. Church is going to stand together with us. I was thinking the other day, I was a delegate to the Democratic National Convention, and it was supposed to have been in Milwaukee. But because of coronavirus, we couldn't go. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to look at this virtually. And I discovered that every time they had something virtual, and I just thought I would be on there. And it's a good thing it was virtual, because since it was virtual and since the virus, I was home. And I said, boy, I'm going to have to start dressing up for these virtual calls. Because one morning they had a virtual breakfast. And it was really virtual. Wasn't a nary bit of food. But I was sitting there on the virtual meeting. I had on my pajamas. I mean, I was just a slumlord that morning. And they said, never going to ask Bishop Jackson to give us something. I said, oh, sure. So I turned around and turned the two lights off so it would be dark and they couldn't see how I was dressed. And so every session after that, I made sure I was dressed appropriately. So I'm just hoping nobody saw how I really looked. Yeah, because it was a little rough there one morning. So anyhow, but again, thank you all so much. Now, I want to take a few minutes. We have in Georgia what we put together for the 6th District. It's called Operation Voter Turnout. We want to make sure that we vote. And I'm telling you now, you all have no idea how rough an election this is going to be. I'm telling you, have no idea how rough this election is going to be. I said to somebody last year that what I thought, where's Miss Brown? Sister Brown, where are you? Miss Brown, come on out from behind that curtain. I was trying to tell somebody how bad it was going to be with Miss Brown's president. She keeps trying to tell me that he's my president. My president's Barack Obama. That ain't my president. And I'm going, in fact, is Presiding Elder Bertram Smith here? I had to chastise Presiding Elder Bertram Smith a couple of weeks ago. The president of Presiding, I had to chastise him even though I agreed with him. He called me and said, Bishop, I got some good news. He said, God is good. I was happy. I said, oh, Elder, what did God do? Bishop, I just got word a few minutes ago that Donald Trump got the coronavirus. I said, Elder, you're not supposed to get happy about that. And the elder said, God works in a mysterious way. His wonders to perform. So, but anyway, this is going to be a serious election. And brothers and sisters, I am telling everybody how serious this election is going to be. And I said to somebody last year, and I think one of them was even Ms. Brown, that this guy who's in the White House now is going to refuse to accept the outcome of this election. He's going to refuse. and he's going to seek to challenge the outcome of the election. He was going to claim there was outside influence. He was going to blame China and Iran, even though it's really his friends, the Russians. And what he has done, and if you looked at the debate last week, they asked him a question about 2 weeks ago, I guess now, and he said to the white supremacists, stand by. And mark my word, he's going to send a cue that this election is rigged and it was stolen from him. And the word stand by is their signal that they need to take whatever action to support him. That could be protests. It could be a whole bunch of stuff. I think you're going to have protests in the streets and all this. I don't think this country has seen what it's about to see. But it's important for us to vote. No black has any excuse not to vote. And there's a deliberate effort to try to siphon off black men. Their goal is to get 18% of the votes of black men. That's the goal. And so Operation Voter Turnout is for us to have at least 75% of our folk to vote by October 30th. At least 75% of us to vote by October 30th. Whether it's by absentee ballot or whether it's by early voting by October 30th. At least 75% of us, we want to have voted. Now, I've already voted. I got my absentee ballot, and it's already in. And I didn't trust the mail system. I took it myself. Now, all of y'all in here that's voted already, raise your hand. Well, praise the Lord. All right. All of y'all have not voted yet, raise your hand. All right, what y'all waiting on? All right, I want to make sure we vote. Every local church is supposed to have an Operation Voter Turnout Committee. That committee is supposed to have the list of every registered voter in your local church. That committee is supposed to follow up to see who and when they voted, whether it was absentee ballot, whether it was early voting, but you're supposed to check them off when they vote. If they have not voted by October 30th, then you're going to make sure they vote November the 3rd. We're going to even be providing transportation to help people to vote. I want to thank, now we, in the 6th District, we've have some folk that we have paid, who are paying on this Get Out the Vote effort. In fact, in each annual conference, we had a committee. I think in the Southwest, Reverend Baker, are you here? All right, in the Augusta Conference, Augusta Hall. In the Georgia Conference, it was Bernard Clark. And the Macon Conference, who was it in the Macon Conference? I forget who it was in the Macon Conference. In the Atlanta, North Georgia Conference, it was, who was it? I have to check my list. But we have a conference court, and all of them have done a terrific job. I forget exactly now. D. Hagel has to remind me, but we have registered thousands of people who were not registered before for this election. We registered thousands of people. And one of the people who was heading up All right, get out the vote effort in Georgia is Brother James Uskate Gamon. Brother Gamon, stand up. You want to come down and say anything, Brother Gamon? All right, somebody got a microphone for Brother Gamon? Brother Gamon used to be in New Jersey, but I said, you need to leave Jersey since I was leaving. All right.
Thank you, Bishop. There's a couple things we can offer as a resource. Every pastor should have received at least 3 emails from me. One of the things that we have through Black Church 75 is a software that allows you to upload your membership list. And as you upload it, you can do it 2 ways. You can upload it directly into a vanity link that I can create for you, or you can send it to me and I'll work. Once you upload the list, it'll send back every member in 3 categories: registered and available to vote. But it will also ID people that are registered, but for some reason, they're not active. And it'll also send back the unregistered. Now, even though we're past the voter registration deadline, we want to continue to just identify the people's status in the church. Because I've talked to people who voted in the last special election and then they were purged. So a lot of times people are purged and then things happen, they don't get the early vote, and they head to the polls on the 3rd and something's wrong. Now that's a vote loss. So I know sometimes the sensitive subject, is everyone registered to vote? Oh yeah, we're all registered to vote. If you now have this list, you can send out 3 messages to 3 different groups. So again, Bishop, I will send that out to every pastor again. If you have any questions on the availability of resources, including the transportation program, you can give me a call. And again, my name is James Gaiman. My telephone number is 856-371-6049. And my email address is jgayman, Gaymon, 1982 @gmail. But again, between now and Saturday, I will develop another package and send it out to every pastor. And if you can just either send me back a status of your Operation Vote Committee or pass it along to the person in your church that is making that happen for you, and then have them let me know, because we want to try to keep track of everything that we're doing. My phone number is area code 856-371-6049, and the name is James Gaiman. Any questions? Okay, feel free to contact me, and you will be hearing additional information and resources from the bishop through me. Okay, thank you.
All right. Now, brothers and sisters, let me say this in terms of the early voting and also voting on November the 3rd. Georgia is still exercising voter suppression. For example, the polls opened on October the 12th. One county in particular, for example, Polk County, none of their polling sites were open on October the 12th. They had them closed because of Columbus holiday. They notified nobody in the county that the polling places would not be open. And I've had the 6th district attorney to handle it, and the first thing we did, we called the Secretary of State's office, and they were supposed to be open. I had a meeting with the Secretary of State a few weeks ago before the voting started, and seeking to try to get some of our A.M.E. churches to be polling sites and some of our folk to be trained. We do have several polling sites. Is Reverend Bright here? Okay, Reverend Bright at Turner Chapel in Marietta is a polling site. We have several of our churches that are polling sites around the state. We had a couple of other places that were seek to be polling sites. For example, in Forsyth County, where the Hogansville Circuit is, they went through every loop to try to block them from being a polling site, even to the point of coming up with stuff that the church had to pay money for to be a poll, just a bunch of crazy stuff. So I want to impress upon you enough, understand Georgia is still seeking to suppress your vote. One of my biggest concerns on Election Day and even early voting is Ms. Brown's president has already said, and I'm going to stop that because that's not fair to Ms. Brown. That's not fair. That's not fair. Brother Cornelius, president, he's already said that we're going to have all kind of patrols at polling places to make sure that all these people don't vote illegally. Now understand what that means. In 1981, in the state of New Jersey, and the election day, they had people at the polling sites with black armbands that said Ballot Security Patrol. People presumed this was some legal entity, that they were legal. They intimidated a lot of people to leave the polling sites because they were intimidated. People were standing in line. They would come and say to them, now, are you sure you're really eligible to vote? Because if you seek to vote and you're not really eligible, it's a federal crime and you will be prosecuted. A lot of people were intimidated and left. The winner of that governor's race won out of about 4 million votes cast. Won that election by 1,117 votes. I am very concerned that with this election, especially in urban areas, you're going to have these patrols, and they're going to be trying to intimidate you in terms of your voting. Now, I'm saying this to you. You're not like me. Now, I'm going to tell you now, I am a holy person. I really am. I believe in holiness. I believe in that. But if I was in line and I was registered to vote and somebody came to me trying to challenge my right to vote, you got 3 options. 1, get out of line, be intimidated. 2, stay in line and say nothing. Or 3, tell them to go straight and don't make no turns. Now that's it. There's nothing they can do to you. In fact, it's against the law. People have, those who are poll watchers by law have to be a certain distance from the polling site. Am I correct? However many feet it is. But I want you to be prepared because that's what's coming. I cannot impress upon you enough, that's what's coming. The whole furor over absentee ballots is because he knows that a lot of folk who voting by absentee ballot not voting for him. So this is going to be this is the most consequential election in our lifetime. So I cannot impress upon you enough how important it is that you plan and prepare to vote. Any question on anything I've said thus far? Yes, sir, Reverend Logan. With chairs? All right, let me say this. Well, as you know, we're 6th District is partnership with Fair Fight, Georgia. I sent out a letter to a number of churches around the state for Election Day, and we may have to do it the way it looks now with early voting, where for polling sites, if our churches would provide chairs for those who are standing in these long lines so that you don't have to be standing 3 or 4 hours to cast a ballot. Fair Fight has agreed that if our churches provide the chairs, they will pay the church for the use of the chairs. But it's to help accommodate people who are voting so that you can have a chair to sit down in so you don't have to be standing 3 or 4 hours. We're also trying to make arrangements for people to have water and something, that kind of thing. So that's what we're seeking to do. So if you got a letter from me, Fair Fight will be following up with you to make sure to see if your church will be able to participate and help us in this effort. Any other questions? Any other questions? All right, now let me say this last thing. Today, the Senate Judiciary Committee will vote to release the name of A.M.E. Coney Barrett for consideration by the full Senate for the United States Supreme Court. Now, brothers and sisters, again, I'm not sure how many of us realize how important things are that go on in our country, in your community, in your state. I'm not sure many black people understand how much is at stake in this Supreme Court battle. If this nominee gets confirmed by the Senate, there are a number of things which are at great risk. The first thing that's at risk, November the 10th, the Supreme Court is going to hear the case regarding throwing out the Affordable Care Act. This is a Republican effort. And I'm not sure most of us understand what happens if they throw out or if they rule unconstitutional the Affordable Care Act. What that means is that anybody and everybody who have a previous medical condition could lose your insurance. That means all of us in this room, if you are black and living in America, you got a pre-existing condition. Now that went over some of your head. Let me say that again. If you are black living in America, that's a pre-existing condition. You will be without insurance, or the cost of your insurance because your pre-existing condition is going to escalate. There will no longer be an Affordable Care Act. And this administration had nothing in place to replace it. Yes, Elder Bass. Somebody get a microphone for Elder Bass. Who got? It's coming. While they're bringing that microphone, well, now I'll wait till after you finish.
Okay, Bishop. Last week, I received a text in my phone from Trump people saying that Donald Trump's affordable health care plan, and they've been sending it around to a lot of people. I just deleted it from my site and everything, but that's going on. And also, some of my pastors contacted me on yesterday while we was in the meeting and said that at the polls, some of the people are getting ballots, and when they put them in for the vote, the person at who's working there would tell them, you have a mark on your ballot and we can't use it and won't let them vote against. There's a whole lot of stuff that is going on.
That's the next thing I was going to bring up. I think Reverend Dixon called me the other day. If there should be no marks on your ballot, and that's one of the ways. Don't give anybody anything in line to mark nothing on.
And some of them also, Bishop, is so conscious about this coronavirus, they're taking a can of spray and spraying their ballots down, and when they are damp like that, they will not receive the ballot also. So it's a whole lot of stuff that they're doing that is not getting out there.
Yeah, it's an awful lot. It's an awful lot. It's an awful lot. All right, any other questions before we move on? All right. All right. Yes, sir. Somebody had a question. I can't see with that bright light.
Bishop, I'm Reverend Carmier. I work for the poll, and what I want to say to everybody is this. When you cast your ballot, you take your ballot to be processed, but make sure you check your balance before you process it. And the person that's standing at the machine is not supposed to touch that ballot. You are the one supposed to put the ballot in to be cast. And then stand up there until you see your number come up and say that your ballot has been cast. A lot of times what happens is people come, they put their ballot in and they leave. So they don't know if the ballot has been cast or not. So as a poll worker, I'm telling you, make sure you check your ballot before you cast it. That you have, that all the people you voted for is on your ballot. Don't let anybody spray your ballot either, because they're not supposed to even touch it. All right?
Thank you,
Bishop.
Thank you. Let me also say, on your ballot, especially if you're voting absentee ballot, when you fill in the circle, please make sure you fill that circle in completely. Make sure you fill that circle in. If it is not filled in completely, they are not going to count your vote. So please, please make sure you fill that circle in completely. All right? Any other question before we move on? Yes, sir. Reverend Jacobs? While they bring in the microphone, use your preaching voice.
That, you know, a civil war will start. And I'm just concerned, I mean, do we have any type of proactive thoughts or plans just in case?
You know, Reverend Jacobs, your father, Dr. Dan Jacobs, was so concerned about this voting matter. He called me last week, and I assured him that we were going to do everything we possibly could to make sure that our people are able to vote safely. The thing with what they call the Proud Boys or the white supremacist groups, whatever it is you want to call them, their order in terms of them standing by, that'll come when the votes have been counted and when Trump gives a signal that this election is rigged. Because I can tell you now, already he is not going to concede this election. He has no intention of conceding. And so he will say that this election is rigged, and he will want to refer the matter to the courts. Again, another reason for this vacancy to be filled on the Supreme Court is because he is presuming, and I'm hoping wrong, but he's presuming that the new justice on the Supreme Court will join with the other conservatives and back him. You see, because the reality is the United States Supreme Court today has very little credibility. The credibility of the United States Supreme Court has been in question since the 2000 election. George Bush did not become president because he got the most votes. George Bush became president because the Supreme Court ruled that they did not have to recount the votes in the state of Florida. And Al Gore, because he thought it was in the best interest of the nation, rather than pressing forward, said it's in the best interest of the nation that this process end. That's how George Bush became president. Donald Trump is hoping if this matter goes before the court and goes all the way to the Supreme Court, whether he loses by 10 million votes, the Supreme Court will rule that a lot of these absentee ballots and a lot of these votes were illegal and that Donald Trump should be president. And either way that happens, you can have a revolt in this country, because I'm going to join the revolt with those if they say he the president. I'm going to be General Jackson. See what I mean? But this country's in for a time it has not seen before. And I just hope we are very prepared for what's before us. Now, I hope I'm wrong. This one time I really want to be wrong. But I think y'all think I'm right? When I'm asking my lady, y'all think I'm right? Yes. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be, I'm telling you, you have not seen anything like this country getting ready to see. I mean, what does it look like? I mean, this is what gets me mad. And that's why I say I'm glad y'all are not around me when I'm by myself, because every now and then I can't help but speak in tongues. No, listen to what I mean. In Michigan, you had people go to the state house with long-arm rifles and guns, and nothing was wrong with it. Nothing. Now, black folk and white folk peacefully protesting, that's called riots. You see, but that's where we are in this country. You're going to kidnap the governor? Now, I got one they can kidnap if they want, but you know, but that's how dangerous a place this country's in. So let's be very clear. And I'm saying that because I want you to be very much aware of the times when you talk about spiritual wickedness in high places. This is really a spiritual war. And so that's where we are. All right, that's enough of that. Thank y'all. Reverend Heathcote, you want to make an announcement before we move to the next section? Because Brother Ossoff is supposed to be joining us virtually momentarily. Now, somebody got a microphone for Brother Dr. Heathcote? We got to have a lot of microphones for these meetings.
Thank you, Bishop. I just want to make a quick announcement for the Turner Theological Seminary. Earlier that you heard that the General Church had cut the budget by 25%, and that was good news for the churches, but it was not good news for our seminary because their budget was cut by 25%. And then because of the coronavirus, we do not have students staying in our dormitory, so we lost another 15% on the budget of Turner Theological Seminary. So there is a special appeal that is being made for our illustrious Turner Theological Seminary, and we need your help and your support. Outside, Sister B.B. Calloway needs you to fill out these well, they're not applications, it's a special appeal. But one of the problems that we're having, and I'm coming to you as the president of the Alumni Association, is that the addresses of our graduates are not up to date. And a large number of letters that were sent out came back to Turner Seminary. ITC has begun developing a booklet of all ITC graduates, but because we don't have that to date, we need all of our Turner Seminary graduates to get your information updated. And if you will, fill out a form that B.B. Calloway has outside on the table. And also, if you can, make a contribution to Turner Theological Seminary to help us make up the 40% decrease in the budget of Turner Theological Seminary. So we need your help, and we thank all of you who have continued to support Turner Theological Seminary. Our bishop is a graduate of Turner Theological Seminary, so that just gives you an idea of what kind of students come from our seminary. So continue to support us, and we thank you, Bishop, for this opportunity to serve.
I hope that's a good sign that I'm a graduate.
It's a great sound.
Okay, that's good. That's
Great
good.
sound.
All right.
Thank you, Bishop.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Now, my brothers and my sisters, we're getting ready. All right. I'm going to get ready in a few minutes to present Brother John Ossoff. Now, Georgia this year, I think, is one of the two most important states in the nation as it relates to this election. Georgia not only has the presidential election, but we're going to elect 2 United States senators, and then we have state races that's going to determine the shape of our state legislature. Georgia is critical, and there's a lot of confusion as it relates to the Senate race, whether or not John Ossoff is running against Raphael Warnock. They are running for 2 different seats. John Ossoff is running against David Perdue, the incumbent. Raphael Warnock is running to fill the term of Senator Johnny Isaacson, who retired because of health reasons. So there are 2 different. Reverend Warnock will be with us tomorrow. Matter of fact, he's going to be preaching noonday. All right. All right, now, brothers and sisters, let me present to you a good brother, Brother John Ossoff, who is a candidate for the United States Senate from the state of Georgia. And it is a very close Senate race. All the polls show that they are neck and neck. And I watched the first debate they had the other day. It was a very nasty debate. I'm glad I wasn't a candidate in that race. But I want us to hear Brother Ossoff. I think he is a terrific person. And you know where I am in this race. Y'all do know who I'm supporting? Anybody got any question on who I'm supporting? Okay, I just want to be sure. All right, Brother Ossoff, we are delighted to have you with us today, and I turn it over to you. Welcome, and speak to the 6th Episcopal District.
Bishop Jackson, thank you. Can you hear me all right? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay.
We can hear you.
All good. Well, thank you so much for the invitation and the hospitality. Thank you, Bishop. Thank you to Christy Davis Jackson, supervisor of this event. Thank you to the presiding elders. Thank you, pastors, and all involved in the administration and leadership and membership of the 6th District A.M.E. Church. It is an honor to address you and to have just a few moments of your precious time to introduce myself and to answer some questions from the bishop. For those of you I have not had the pleasure of meeting in person, my wife, Alicia, and I were both born and raised here in Metro Atlanta. She is an OBGYN doctor working mostly in labor and delivery at Grady Hospital here in Atlanta. I run a 30-year-old media production company called Insight TWI, and my business produces investigations of war crimes, of organized crime, and of political corruption for news organizations all over the world. So to give you an idea of the kind of work that we do, we've produced undercover investigations of human trafficking rings, of murder for hire schemes, of corporate abuses, judicial corruption, crooked police. We've produced multiple undercover investigations of death squads. We've produced investigations of ISIS atrocities committed against women and girls in northern Iraq. And I do this work because I am passionate about confronting corruption and exposing the abuse of power. And that same passion is what has drawn me into the political arena at this moment in our history. I had worked in government and around politics before. In fact, my first ever exposure to public service was working as a very, very young man for Congressman John Lewis. And I learned so much from Congressman Lewis, who became my mentor for 17 years, who taught me that the conditions of justice, the conditions of human flourishing, the conditions that are necessary to build the beloved community are universal. They cross racial lines and geographical boundaries and the borders of nations. Whether here in Georgia or anywhere else in the United States or anywhere on earth, access to housing, healthcare, education, dignified work that pays a living wage, and equal justice. These are the basic conditions of human flourishing. And so Congressman Lewis set me on a course and imbued me with certain values. But after years working in Washington, I became so disgusted and disillusioned with what I saw there, how cash rules everything in that city, how lobbyists run Capitol Hill, that I left. That's why I went into investigative journalism and media production, because it is a purer endeavor than political endeavors. But at this moment in our history, with a man such as this in the White House, with the needs of the people being so great, I'm challenging Georgia's incumbent Republican Senator David Perdue because Georgia badly needs a change. People are suffering. 1 in 3 children in rural Georgia lives in poverty. We have the highest maternal mortality rate in the United States. 9 rural hospitals closing in 10 years. A state that has refused to expand Medicaid, that doesn't look out for the least of these, but puts the interests of powerful political donors and corporations ahead of ordinary people. Rampant voter suppression that targets Black voters with surgical precision. A criminal justice system that makes a mockery of our Constitution's 14th Amendment guarantee of equal protection. All of this amidst a pandemic our own government lied to us about, while they politicized the response, while they undercut their own public health and medical experts, while they have rushed massive economic relief to the most powerful and the best connected, while it's people with the least money and access and connections and power who have suffered the most. We urgently need a change in this country. This is not political rhetoric. I'm coming to you from the heart. I wish I could look y'all right in the eye right now to convey to you how serious I am about the need for change in America. We will not recognize this country after 4 more years of Donald Trump. And of course, corruption didn't begin with Donald Trump. His presidency is a symptom of a deeper corruption. And much of what's wrong and the racism embedded in law and institutions is deeply rooted in history. But we have got to make a change right now. Dig out from the rubble of what this presidency has destroyed. Put the health and well-being and opportunity of ordinary people at the top of our agenda and build a more just, a more prosperous, a more secure America on top once we have undone much of this damage. This is the closest U.S. Senate race in the country right now. And that's one of the many reasons that I'm grateful, Bishop Jackson, to your hospitality and the opportunity to address the convocation. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Brother Ossoff. Give him a hand. Now, let me ask a question real quick. If the Supreme Court rules against the Affordable Care Act, what would you propose for the millions with pre-existing conditions who lose their insurance?
Thank you, Bishop. Even in the middle of this pandemic, my opponent, Senator David Perdue, persists in trying to repeal protections for pre-existing conditions. He wants to take us back to a time when an insurance company could deny us or a loved one coverage because we are a cancer survivor or have diabetes or heart disease or have suffered from COVID-19. No one should lose their health care or their health insurance because they've been sick or get sick. This is an economic question and a moral question. I will fight to protect coverage for pre-existing conditions, to expand Medicaid, to invest in new health clinics, to sustain Georgia's hospitals, to expand the public health service so we have more doctors and nurses to serve every community in the state.
Okay. What would you do to strengthen the Voting Rights Act, which was gutted by the Supreme Court?
2013, Shelby County v. Holder, eviscerating Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act on a technicality, denying the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice the ability to pre-clear changes to voting procedure in states like Georgia with a history of segregation, Jim Crow, and voter suppression. This is James Crow Esquire that we're dealing with today. This is the new poll tax. This is the new literacy test. You know, my opponent, David Perdue, issued a very magnanimous statement on Congressman Lewis passing. But as long as he and people like him stand in the way of passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, restoring the VRA in full and strengthening it, they're not fit to utter Congressman Lewis' name in public. We need to restore and strengthen the VRA, and we need to pass legislation that makes it a federal crime for any state or local election official to abuse their power to disenfranchise their own constituents.
All right, thank you. Now we have time for two other questions. Anybody have a question before I ask another one? Any question before I ask another one, all right? Yes, sir. Reverend Logan, give me the question and I'll ask Brother Ossoff. What would you do in order to restore the voting rights of felons who have served their time?
I need you to say it again, Bishop.
What would you do in order to ensure the rights of felons who have paid their time and have their rights restored, for example, the right to vote?
You've done the it should be restored.
All
and
right.
I'll support federal legislation to that effect.
All right. Any other question before I ask the last one? All right, let me ask this question. There is a lot of debate now in light of the Supreme Court nomination about packing the court. Where do you stand on packing? For those of you who understand what packing the court means, right now there are 9 justices on the Supreme Court. What that means is if, for example, the Democrats take control of the White House, the Senate, and the House, they could pass, and with the president's signature, say, increase the Supreme Court from 9 to 12. That's what we mean by packing. Where do you stand on that?
I don't think that the proper response to the confirmation of a justice with whom I or others or Democrats may disagree on policy is to retaliate by expanding the court.
Okay. Let me ask my legislator. Any of y'all have a question? All right. Well, Brother Ossoff, I want to thank you so much. Now, I want to remind people that I think Brother Ossoff will make an absolutely good senator representing the citizens of the state of Georgia. And I think there is a big difference between him and his opponent. And let me say, I've invited Senator Perdue to several functions. I don't even get a response from his office. Don't even get a response from his office. I want to thank Brother Ossoff. If he responds now before he gets elected, I think we can kind of depend on him responding after he gets elected. Thank you so much, Brother Ossoff, and whatever I can do to help, let me know.
Bishop, thank you for the opportunity, and here's the commitment that I make to you. When I serve Georgia in the U.S. Senate, I will come right back here every year, and more frequently than that, to answer questions, to answer scrutiny, to face criticism with an open mind and a willingness to change my mind, good faith in my heart, and a desire to do the best for ordinary working people in this state. And that's what we deserve from a public servant. Grateful again to you for all that you do. And I urge everyone to make every effort to get everyone to vote and to vote early. Y'all, that's the most important message I can deliver in closing. We have got to turn out like we've never turned out before. We have got to vote like we've never voted before. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and all the best. All right, thank you. All right. Thank you so very much. Now, brothers and sisters, I want to thank you all for this good afternoon session, informative session. I want to thank our honorees for coming to be with us. Now, tonight at 7 o'clock, we have our 6th Episcopal District Awards program. I want you to be in place at 7 o'clock p.m. For our awards, we're going to present the presiding elder of the year, the pastor of the year, the layperson. We got about 10, 12 awards we want to present tonight. So please be here at 7 o'clock p.m. 7 o'clock p.m. What time should we be here? 7 o'clock p.m. All right, this session stands adjourned. Thank you so much. Let me say that we have a picture here that from the A.M.E. Day at the State House last year. I'm going to keep these. If y'all want to get a picture, let Ms. Brown know. We'll see that you get a picture. Elder Bass, you in there, I believe. All right.